guys, how are you all? Doing good? Okay, so I don't know, maybe it's a bit slow, but it will come up. So first of all, let me ask you guys a simple question. How many of you are afraid of AI? No one? And that's the first time I've ever heard in any conference in the world. Okay, one person. And two, maybe I can ask, what makes you afraid of AI? You want to answer?
Yeah, I think that it has the possibility to collect a lot of data about the person which is personal, and sometimes way influences the habits and future, for example, this person.
So you're basically saying that AI can control us, knowing details about our data. Does that actually worry some of you more? Okay, seems not. So maybe most of you are data scientists. And how many of you actually think AI is good for this? Is actually good? All good? Okay, they're like 4 or 5. I think the rest of you, I don't know, haven't made up your mind. Hopefully you will decide later on. So let me give you a story. Let me start with telling you about an experiment that was done in 1961. Any of you have heard about Milgram experiment before? Okay, so I will give you the scenario. The scenario was Milgram was a Jew who wanted to understand how in the Second War people were following orders without actually knowing the consequence. Or even if they knew the consequence, they were just following the orders. And he did this experiment where you can see there is an experimenter, E is a person, whose role is to conduct the experiment. There is a T, which is the teacher, who is asking the questions. And there's an L, who is a learner, who is learning. The role of the teacher is to ask a question. And if the learner gives a wrong answer, he gives an electric shock. And the shock keeps on increasing every wrong answer the learner is giving, to a point that it can be up to 450 volts, which can potentially kill the person. Okay, so that's the setup of the experiment. The actual scenario is that there is no electric shock. However, the teacher does not know that. He thinks he's actually giving a shock to the learner. In reality, there is no, but of course, it is an experiment. Now see how people were performing. Can you play the video? Okay.
Incorrect. 450 volts.
So this is a teacher who asks a question, and he has to now conduct the maximum shock to the person.
You promise he's not. It won't.
Please continue with the procedure.
You said it hurts, but it's because it's like it says they're dangerous initial.
Okay.
And this whole episode, basically, most people, actually 90% of the people, end up giving the shock to the learner just because the experimenter kept on saying, yes, keep on going. Now, why is that relevant? It shows human psychology. It shows that we are ready to follow an order from someone we don't know, to the point of giving an electric shock to another person, even that can kill the person, for the sake of even an experiment. Does that worry some of you? It should. Now, the question is, this was 1969. Can the experimenter be a machine? Imagine the scenario that actually the experiment is just a machine telling another person, yes, do this. Question, are we going to still follow the orders? And to what extent? Okay, so this is an open question. I will leave it here. Now, let's take back a step. Doesn't go to the next slide? Okay, it does. It's a bit slow. So now, that's a question that's a hypothetical scenario. I put it out. The question is, how far are we from that hypothetical scenario? The problem with unethical AI, we all know that. I mean, there are cases like, Amazon built the sexist AI. where the data it was trained on the existing recruitment data, which is biased because humans are biased, and it ended up, being a sexist, so they have to scrap it. Or Microsoft has racist chatbot, and there are lots of those questions. Now, the question is, are these just one-off cases? Or the problem is much bigger than what we think it is, actually. Let me take a simple example of our social media feed, the feed that we get in Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. Most of us make our opinions and decisions looking at the feed that we read. Our feed is driven by AI, which is basically reinforcing our own ideas and biases. And that's what has made this world even more divided. Because we keep on seeing the same feed over and over. Why? Because the social media want to maximize likes and dislikes. So they want to keep us showing the feed that we will like, we will share, because it will increase engagement. Now, what does that do? That we don't get other opinions, because other opinions will not make us like and share. So even the simplest algorithm of AI, which is basically reinforcing our biases or opinions, doesn't matter, bias, opinions, divides us more. Does that worry some of you? That we as a society are getting more and more divided. And I think we should be worried. We should be worried that there are algorithms that drives our decisions, opinions, divides our society right today, driven by algorithms written by some people sitting somewhere else. And we can imagine that how this could go on to the point where I went to the Milgram experiment. Now, so my argument is, of course, good AI is absolutely essential. Then why did I start it by saying AI for good is dead? Now, to understand that, what is AI for good? Now, many of you hear this word a lot. And I have been working on AI for so-called good for 3 years now. I will talk briefly about what I have been doing, but we have done a lot of work around the world. We have run over 300 projects in around 60 countries in the last 3 years. Things like, this didn't come up that well, but things like we work with UNICEF to identify school locations in Sudan. And we did that using satellite images, because UNICEF has a project that we want to kind of, help every school in Sudan get internet access. That's one of the projects. Part of AI for good project. We worked in Brazil to detect forest fire, through smoke. We actually worked with another company in Germany also to detect forest fire, but with a sensor. This was through images, videos. We worked in Chicago to detect, gang violence and see if there is actually a correlation between tweets and actual violence in the world. And to my surprise, or to our surprise, there is. People were actually tweeting that they are going to kill each other, and then they go 2 days later and kill each other. So it's a good thing. But then, when I look at the overall AI space, I see that AI is huge. Every company is using AI. And then they put the AI for good in the corner, saying, oh, this is some of the social projects we are doing. And that's it. So we place AI for good in the corner to make us look good, doing some of the projects, while the 99% of the work in AI is not so-called good. Or, well, I will argue that, also not ethical the way the algorithms are written sometimes. I will just tell briefly.
With artificial intelligence, we have an opportunity now to harness the powers of the artificial intelligence.
Okay, you can see. Okay, sorry. So this is I wanted to briefly tell about who this person is, and then I will play the video. So I was in Riyadh a week ago, invited by FII, and I had the opportunity to meet some of the very interesting people. One of them is former Prime Minister of Bhutan, Tenzing Togbe. So We did a podcast afterwards, last week actually. And I wanted to, as you all know, Bhutan is known for the National Happiness Index, that they have defined happiness is the key of their country, not the GDP. And I wanted to get his opinion about AI, how he sees AI should be. So if you could play that.
With artificial intelligence, we have an opportunity now to harness the powers of the artificial intelligence and to guide it into a more wholesome sort of a way. Right now, everything about the AI is about economy. Everything is about the economy. Whether it's autonomous driving cars, whether it's manufacturing cars, robots manufacturing cars, or whether it is algorithms that help me shop, or social media, or virtual shop assistants. Everything seems to be on how to improve GDP.
Okay, so the full episode will come out in a week. So this is just part of my talk with him. I think he's a very interesting guy. Have a look at him. He has a lot of TED Talks also. So my point here is that we cannot put AI for good as a corner of AI. It has to be the center of AI. It is what AI should be, and that is what ethical AI should be. Every single developer needs to think AI as being the ethical AI, as being the AI for good, and not as like we will do a side project somewhere, do some hackathon somewhere, do some social problems, and that's AI for good. And the rest we are going back and doing some data science and work, writing algorithms, which are unethical often. So that's the whole argument. The question is, how do we build that? I mean, this is a big topic. People have different approaches. So I have identified three major approaches. One is the government regulations. Governments are trying to say, what is AI for good? They are trying to create ethical AI guidelines. I do not think that's the right approach. I don't think that's even possible. I think that the problems do not lie in regulations, or can be solved. Maybe some of the problems. I mean, there are some regulations by EU which I like. For example, there's one which is making social media to show what is the algorithm that they are using, actually. They have to make it out. So that's good. But those are not regulation how to write an algorithm. That's more like, you have to make it out for others to see. There are tools like bias detection, which a lot of people work on, also makes sense. But again, that solves a side of the problem. What I think is the best bet of building ethical AI is we, the people, have to go and build these solutions as a collaborative way. What is the main reason of unethical AI is the biases the data have. Biases the data have because biases the humans have. So if I go and write an algorithm again, it will somehow add my bias again in the algorithm. Unless we work collaboratively, where someone else can also work with me and share our knowledge, we will not be able to find the biases in the data, because we all come from different backgrounds, different religion, different culture. And the true way to identify the biases is to collaborate from different people all over the world and build solutions. Okay? So that's the way we think should be the way to build it. And the key to building the solutions is often I say there are 3 C's that we need to follow. We have to collaborate, we have to be compassionate, and we have to be conscious. I know it's too much. I know many of you will define what is consciousness. This is not the purpose of this talk, but briefly saying that that's the way we see it. Of course, I've written about it, how we try to build the community, but the key of this is the 3 C's of building AI. That every developer who wants to go in this thing needs to work on these principles so that we can end up building ethical AI. And we have been trying to do that. The numbers are a bit old, but there's 56, 60 countries now. So in 3 years since I founded this company, over 10,000 people from all over the world, till now, like 105 countries actually, not all over the world, have worked on 300 projects. We have 80 plus chapters around the world in 35 countries. We don't have one in Georgia, hopefully soon. but there are people who are being part of this, collaboratively come together, build solutions that is being used by organizations, the UN bodies, startups around the world. But the solutions are built in collaboration with the people from all over the world, helping each other, learning from each other, identifying the biases so that we can work together in a bottom-up environment and not rely on corporations and governments to build a solution. I will take this further on, and one of the part of the podcast is that I keep on asking people, so this is all great stories, and I had also one of the guests a few days ago was also, I know someone whom personally, and we have been working together, who is founder of Sophia Robot, David Hansen. And we are discussing, can actually we build compassion and conscious in the AI? Of course, we can be compassionate ourselves, but can we truly build a compassionate AI, conscious AI? I'll just have him another 30 seconds of his idea, what he means by that. Can you play?
I think that can help us solve some hard challenges. At the same time, if AI, and it is our quest to create AI that is generally intelligent, that is conscious, that kind of AI can be smarter about solving problems with us. If we do create AI that is conscious, I want for that AI to care about us also, to understand us. And this is where compassion becomes so important. But in order for a machine or a human or a being to have compassion, it has to be able to connect with, model, and feel what another being feels. Compassion, it means like feeling somebody else's suffering with pain. That's literally what the roots of the word mean.
So we keep on, as I said, this is a podcast that I had a call with him, and we have been working on this for almost 4 months now, and we are continuing to do a second project where we are trying to see, can we truly build a compassion AI and implement it in Sophia. Sophia already has some level of facial compassion, like expressions, let's say, but, and that's, we'll see, but the goal here is actually that we need to, first of all, ourselves as developers be more compassionate and conscious and collaboratively work, and hopefully we can also build robots which are like that. So at the end, before I end, I just say the choice is ours. Do we want to be continued by controlled by technologies, making decisions by a select few who go and write these algorithms, often sitting in Silicon Valley, without really knowing what the rest of the world thinks and feels and what we are? Or we should actually, the people from all over the world, collaboratively build those solutions together, which by design will be compassionate and ethical. So thanks a lot for, before I end, I was part of this panel, as I said, in Riyadh last week, and I really like this quote that they put it out, that we are using AI in every aspect of our lives, and it is going, and it is already making decisions for us. So we have to actually better care of our future. We have to build solutions that are compassionate and ethical algorithms. Feel free to add me on LinkedIn or check the work that we have been doing at the company. Thanks a lot for your time. I hope it was interesting and enjoyable.
It's a very native topic, so thank you very much for a marvelous presentation. So I have a slightly metaphysical question. So of course we need to have to equip artificial intelligence with compassion, with emotions, human-like emotions, but is it optimal? For us, for human beings, it is, because we are constructed in this way to have compassion. We are social existences, but will it apply to artificial intelligence if it decides, he or she or it decides that it is not optimal, and so it will have larger computational resources and it will get fully autonomous. So what will happen?
Okay, so I'm not an expert in that, but I will tell you what David said to me, and because this is something we had a part of it, and he has been working on this for 10 years or 12 years. He gives a very interesting point of view, and I kind of agree with his view, so I will give his answer also, and that's the way I see it also. We humans are not necessarily compassionate, by the way. Most of us are not. On a day-to-day, we are biased, we are not, so that's the first step. But if we look at us, even as humans, when we are a child, we are compassionate. It depends a lot on how we have been brought up, defines how compassionate we end up being. Is it possible that the robots, if they're put in the right environment and evolved and get the right compassionate environment, they will end up being compassionate too? So the chance of, the probability of making a robot more compassionate is to provide the right data, the right environment, which we can control.
This is key point, but let me agree with you that not all human beings are compassionate, so we have sociopaths also. But socially optimal decision and solution is to be compassionate, yeah, more or less. And general artificial intelligence may decide that it is not optimal for it. And so key point is that we should not lose control, right? Yeah. Otherwise, we cannot predict and we cannot know what will happen if they decide that it is not optimal for their community or for particular artificial intelligence. So we are in danger.
Absolutely. So actually tomorrow I'm speaking on adoption of AI, and one of the key points I always say that the key for adoption success of AI or any AI is control, that humans should always keep the control in hand. And that's important. I completely agree with that.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So, hello. I have one kind of question. Like today's world, we have a key issue like language barrier, right? We have many artificial intelligence who knows like English alphabet, where is 26 letter, and let's say we have Georgian language, there is 33 letters. Chinese, there is 100 or more letters, I don't know. Actually, I will predict that Sophia cannot recognize Chinese language and emotions as well. And so we have words which coming from our brain, and we have mimics on face, right? So we have only words, and how we can predict what are we feeling by the words only. We have only one thing to process, like data type, words, string, like, I don't know. This language barrier is also like, how are we solving this, even when Google AI can't solve this language barrier problem?
So it's an interesting question, and thanks for asking the question about the language barrier. I'll give you two examples. Yesterday, we finished one project with the Bhutan government, and we built the first, before even Google doesn't have it, translator from Bhutanese language to English with 80% accuracy. Even Google doesn't have it. Now, why we were able to build it? We means my company. Why we were able to build it? Because we engaged with the local people in Bhutan to build the solution. They know the language. We had built similar language translator from Tamil in Sri Lanka, because we had to work in Tamil Nadu, in Sri Lanka, on hate speech detection. Including engaging the local community in Sri Lanka. So they built the language, Tamil translation, for Sri Lanka, because I learned that Tamil in India and Sri Lanka are different. The three local chapters of Omdena, Iraq, Egypt, and I think Turkey. Iraq, Egypt, I forgot the third one, I'm sorry. They built an Arabic language translator, which is performing equally good or sometimes better than Google Translator. Now, these are the local chapters of our Omdena's local chapter in those countries. They said, okay, we need a better language translation. So let's us build a solution, not rely on Google to build that for us. And now we are engaging with the Saudi government. Hopefully, we'll work together to improve that, because one of the key focus of Saudi government or in Middle East is the language from Arabic to English, improving that. So my argumentation is, we, the people, have to decide, like, if you guys want to go and say, okay, let's build a Georgian translator, why do you wait for the Google? We will be happy to take up such a project, engage the global community, and we will build it. I mean, I can tell you that. We have done it in Bhutan and Sri Lanka and in Middle East in an Arabic language. So if you guys want to do it, happy to take it up, that project.
Hello. I too have also some kind of feeling that the future with the robots like Sophia is danger. Because the people of course need compassion, need people to feel free, for people to help, and we are socialized persons, and isn't it too dangerous to put this kind of feeling in the robot? Yes, we humans will control them, of course, but won't it be better to help other people to realize their needs, to help other people, not robots, but people for people, because people inside, we are also violent, and there is some kind of danger that people will use these violent feelings on the robots, and maybe they become dangerous. I don't know if I expressed my thoughts exactly, but if you understand, please answer the question.
If I understand that, what my argumentation here is that humans, if you look at the history of humankind, and even now, there's lots of leaders that have been unethical, that have controlled us, that have been violent to us. The danger stays anyway, even if there are leaders, democratically elected leaders, control us and say things which are not good for us, right? So that already is happening.
Yeah.
My argument is, why can we, and I know the threat, but can we actually build robots that doesn't have to control us, but that we can engineer to be more compassionate, that we control their training and learning through our own understanding of compassion to those robots. So the way we want to use, or the way David has this idea of using Sophia is to educational purposes, co-learning. Teaching, for example, is the first place where we want to go into. Or where, imagine a teacher has to be compassionate, right? So can we train the robot to be compassionate, to just co-learning? We can learn with the robot together. And we know the robot will be compassionate because we have trained it to be like that. What happens to them? Well, they have to also become compassionate. If they are not, then they will be replaced by humans. I mean, robots. I always say that we should not be afraid of robots replacing humans. We should it will help us humans become better humans. That's the way I would say that we should also see that a lot of teachers are not compassionate. A lot of leaders are not. There's nothing wrong if we get another robot which is compassionate, which can act as being a benchmark for other teachers to learn and also be a better one. I cannot imagine that all the teachers in the world will be replaced by robots. I mean, I don't think that's going to happen in the next 50 years or so. But we can set examples. Like online learning. In online learning, you will benefit a lot if there is a robot. I mean, in fact, I met one guy, he has these small robots in the US. I forgot his name, Robert, I think. And he says that he has seen that kids, autistic children, learn a lot faster when they have the robot next to them to interact, because normal humans don't have the patience to interact with autistic children often. And the children actually ends up getting, all the bad emotions. We can control that through robots. So there are places where we can apply the robots to help things that humans are not good at, and it might help humans to be more compassionate and be aware of that also while we teach. Absolutely. And I gave you that example also. They are dangerous. Absolutely. And we should be aware of the danger. That's why my whole talk started with the danger of that. But danger is also with humans. It's nothing only in robots. I mean, in fact, I think we are more afraid, more danger. I mean, look at our history of humankind. There were no robots. Humans were killing humans. Humans are controlling humans. Millions of people have died because of other humans.
But humans can use robots to control humans more as a weapon to...
Absolutely, and that's why I said we need to build compassion in the robots so that they don't be that. That's why I say the way to build these things is through global collaboration, not one person sitting somewhere in Silicon Valley and building those solutions.
Yeah.
We can take it forward offline because I think there's someone else who wants to take it.
Thank you very much for the insightful discussion. I know there's a lot of unanswered questions and
we can
some
take the
ideas
one
to
from
share.
the lady because she has
So
been taking out.
I invite you to continue the discussion during the break that we will have coming up, and also to connect on LinkedIn and share your ideas later as well. And thank you very much for bringing this very important topic.